Hey everyone, so it's May and May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, so I thought it'd be the perfect time to do the Asian American tag. So this tag actually started circulating about 2 years ago, I think. I saw one of my favorite vloggers, Jan M, do it, and I know she tagged a bunch of her other friends like Whaley, and then I looked up online and there's just a bunch of people doing the Asian American tag on YouTube, so I thought it would be great to upload my own version of it. Let's get started! Alright, so the first question is, what ethnicity are you? So I am Vietnamese, although I can't be 100% sure, as you see in the title. I'm actually adopted, so we don't really know if I'm 100% Vietnamese, although when I do walk into the nail salons, and a lot of them are owned by Vietnamese people here in Portland, people are like, start speaking to me in Vietnamese, so I'm like, okay, I guess that means I probably look somewhat Vietnamese. I know my older sister, who was adopted from Guatemala, she actually wants to do like the gene test with me so we can see like exactly what ethnicities we are. So I may look into that in the future. Question 2 is, what generation are you? As I said earlier, I'm adopted, so I'm not really sure. I don't really think that counts as a generation. I guess if anything it would be one, kind of. But I didn't like come over here on choice, I guess. That sounds weird. But yeah, that's my answer. And the third question is, what is the first experience where you felt the demarcation of being a minority or different? And I always knew that I was different when I was in elementary school, and before that my parents would always say, hey, like, just so you know, you're adopted, that means you didn't come out of our body, we went to Vietnam and got you. And they would say like, oh, you're Asian American, so you might look a little different. And so in elementary school I just thought like, oh, okay, if you have black hair then that means you're Asian like me. But I didn't really think too much about it. But then when I got to middle school is when I really started to see, oh wait, I think I'm really different. Like, it was easy for me to tell that I was different because I was female. That was pretty easy for me to pick up on. But in terms of Asian American, I didn't notice too much. We didn't have too many Asian Americans at my school. And then, as I said, when I got to middle school, actually, that's when kids started coming up and being like, hey, where are you from? I'd be like, Portland. And they're like, no, where are you really from? And I'm like, oh, I guess Vietnam. That's what she wanted to know. And then they would say things like, oh, you don't really look Asian, or you must be half white or something. So I realized a lot of my white friends didn't get asked that, so I was like, what? Okay, I guess I'm different. I guess I'm Asian American for sure, and people can definitely tell this. And it was very interesting. And then in terms of being adopted in middle school was also when I realized it was really different. Like, for me it just seemed normal. It was a lot I actually had a couple friends that were adopted too from Asia, so I'm like, okay, like, people are adopted, it's like no different from not being adopted. But then when I got to middle school, I actually had this response from some guy. I said, oh, I'm adopted, and then he said, oh, that sucks. And then I was just so thrown off. I didn't know what to say. I was like, I mean, it didn't suck for me. And then he felt really bad and apologized profusely, but it was just weird that that was his gut reaction. And I've encountered that later on as well, where people are like, have this idea that like adopted and foster kids are like messed up or something, and there's something wrong with them because they didn't like come out of their mom. So that's been kind of weird. And then also I realized when I told this one girl in middle school I was adopted, it wasn't bad, but she was just like, oh, what's that like? Is it really different at your house? Like, what do you guys do? And I was just like, it's pretty much the same. We eat dinner, we watch TV, we play video games. Not really too different. It's pretty much the same. I don't feel any different. These are my parents' parents. So yeah, middle school is really when I started to realize, wow, I guess I'm pretty different in those perspectives. And then the fourth question is, was there a time when you weren't proud of your heritage? And I would say yes, there definitely was. I think in middle school, again, is where you do lots of growth, the puberty, all that fun stuff. So in middle school, I would say I wasn't like ashamed of it. I wasn't like, oh, ew, I'm Vietnamese, I want nothing to associate with it. But I just wanted to say, like, prove that I'm American, as I didn't really see them as the same thing. And everyone in the media who I saw as like Asian American was really nerdy or really awkward or like a dweeb, and nobody, like, it was not desirable to be Asian American, except like, you know, I guess Brenda Song, I really liked her, but there wasn't much for us. So I was just kind of like, oh, I just won't really talk about it. I wasn't super gung-ho like, I'm Asian American, I'm Vietnamese, yeah, like, I'll learn a lot about it. So I wasn't really like big on being proud of my heritage back then, which is kind of sad because I think like everyone should be proud of who they are and their identity, but I just didn't really see that as a big part of mine at the time. The fifth question is, what type of stereotypes do you deal with? And I would say there were a lot, definitely. I think in middle school, a lot of the stereotypes were more like microaggressions, which definitions Basically, what happened in middle school is I had a lot of kids say things like, oh wow, I remember this one girl was like, wow, you're really pretty for an Asian girl. And I was just like, okay, I don't know what to do with that. Again, I'm pretty sure that's just like point off stereotype that there's like this white ideal of beauty and the Asians like can't reach that. So that was really ugh. And then I also had a lot of people say, wow, like you're so good at math just because you're Asian. And I'll be like, or like, oh, you're so good at school, like it's because you got the Asian genes. And like, you know, people might think, which I didn't really realize this till I got to college, but people wouldn't think, oh, that's like positive stereotype, like that's fine. But it's really not, because you're saying, oh, I'm not smart because I worked hard. You're saying I'm smart because I happen to be Asian. So those are hurtful as well. And then getting older, as I kind of got to college and in my life now, I think the biggest one I have to deal with is the fetishization of Asian women, which is the idea that, oh, Asian American women like doing it a lot. They were very subservient and submissive and quiet and will be great like wives, and it's just really weird. And everyone's like, oh, I love Asian girls, they're the best. They're all like, again, attributing, you just want to do it a lot because you're Asian. Good Asian girls love doing it. And it's like, what? I'm pretty sure, I mean, I know there are girls of all races that love doing it and some that don't. And it has nothing to do with race. And there's a really fine line between fetishization, so it's hard to deal with, especially when you're trying to date and stuff. So another stereotype that I'm dealing with right now, of course with the COVID-19 going on, is a lot of people think that it's like the Chinese virus and that the COVID-19 was started by any East Asian American looking people. And so recently, as you've probably seen, there's been a lot of violence and hatred and hate crimes against Asian Americans. So that's something I'm dealing with right now. I feel lucky that so far I haven't had anything happen yet, but it is weird to have your mom say like, hey, please be careful when you go outside, like try to like, definitely wear a mask and then like put your hood up and kind of cover your face so that you don't look as Asian American, because people are gonna like might beat you up and literally kill you for that. So that's pretty scary, and it's something that's just this big stereotype that we're dealing with right now. And just clarify for everybody, the virus is not the Chinese virus, and just because you look East Asian American does not mean you have it. Please stop being racist, please. And question 6 is, can you speak the language? Unfortunately, I cannot speak Vietnamese. I wish I could. I did try speaking Vietnamese, like YouTube video tutorials for like a solid week, and I was like, this is so hard. I kind of just gave up. And if my school had offered it, I definitely would have taken it in middle and high school, but in our middle school and high school, they only offered French, Mandarin, and Spanish. And so I took French because I know Vietnam was colonized by the French. So they have lots of people who speak French there. So I'm like, okay, at least if I ever go back, which I'm actually planning on hopefully doing that sometime later this year. But if I ever go back, then I can at least talk to some of the people. I think that'd be really cool. Bonjour, je m'appelle Carolyn. Enchantée. Aujourd'hui, c'est bon. Wow, that accent was actually horrible. Accents are not my forte. So embarrassing, but it is what it is. Question 7. How has being Asian American affected your relationship with your parents? Well, I feel really lucky that luckily it hasn't affected it too much with mine. Like, you know, you can see it going really bad, like my parents are white, and I think like the biggest thing is they just don't understand a lot of things. And they don't understand that, like, for example, there are a lot of friendships and relationships you may have where you're gonna have conversations about race, and it's gonna be pretty difficult for you to navigate, and some friendships that you might have to let go because you just have different views on things. And like, I never really realized this until I think college. I realized, oh shoot, like race is something you have to talk about, and like racism, and if your friend, like your close friend, doesn't get it, it could be really tricky and hard and sad and hurtful, and it's hard to know what to do with all those feelings. I never experienced this, and my parents felt bad. They're like, oh, well, we didn't know like that would happen, we didn't know how to handle that or warn you. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, like don't feel bad, it's okay. And I think sometimes, yeah, it can just be tricky when I'm trying to explain things like, oh, today this thing happened to me, it really sucked, or like if I try to make a joke, because you know, humor's a good way to kind of deal with some struggles in life, especially now. And my parents sometimes don't get it. They're just kind of like, okay, like you always talking about stuff like that, I don't want to chill, and like it's not bad. Like I know they just kind of get tired, they say it a lot, but other than that, they're really supportive and they're always willing to at least listen, which is really awesome and helpful. So that's the way it's affected my relation with my parents. Question 8 is, how do you feel about your heritage now? I'll say I'm really proud of it now. Like I said, in middle school I didn't identify with it. In high school I was a little closer, like, oh yeah, I'm Asian, it's fine, I guess. Or it wasn't like, woo. But then when I got to college, I went to Ithaca College. I took a class by Dr. House called Intro to Culture and Communications and Rhetoric. And that was so eye-opening for me because I didn't even know like Asian Americans, and it sounds weird, like I didn't even know Asian Americans were a group that were oppressed because the model minority myth, I totally bought into that. I'm like, oh, I guess Asian Americans are doing fine. I don't really see anything wrong besides the weird microaggressions. But in that class, I really learned, shoot, I was like, I already knew, like I said, okay, females is definitely a group that has problems. I could see I get treated way differently. I am not valued as much as others because I'm a female. But later I realized, oh my gosh, like I'm also not valued because I'm Asian American. Ooh, great. So, but it was really eye-opening, like I said, because then I started reading more into it, and I started volunteering for like the Ithaca Pan-Asian American Film Festival, and really getting into wanting to like spread Asian American culture. And specifically, I sometimes visited the Vietnamese club on campus, so that was really awesome to learn more about my culture and heritage, where I came from. And now I would say, yes, I am pretty proud to be Asian American, and specifically Vietnamese American. I think it's really awesome and cool, and it's like who I am, it's part of my identity, and it's just cool. Like that's now who I am. And also in terms of being adopted, I also like got to be on this adoptee panel, which was really fun, and to talk to other adoptees who kind of felt the same way and get a lot of similar questions as me. But now I think it's really cool, and it like makes me unique and gives me a new perspective on life. The last question is, what is your favorite part about being Asian American / your heritage? I would say my favorite part about being Vietnamese specifically is banh mi. Love it. It's my favorite food. My friend took me to this really good place called Best Baguette. It's actually in Beaverton, but I think they also have a location in Portland. They're this specific kind of Vietnamese sandwich. It is $4.50 for a sandwich. Sometimes there's sandwiches you can get for less. That is an incredible deal, and I love saving in good deals. And the sandwich is amazing. Best Baguette, hands down, has my favorite banh mi's I've ever had, and I've had some like in New York City, I had some in Ithaca, I tried some here. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. There's a bunch of banh mi's that are whitewashed. You're like, what the heck is that? If it's not on a baguette, you need to question whether you should get it. And I would, if it's not on a baguette, just know that that's not the traditional banh mi. This banh mi was like a fusion of France and Vietnam. So it has the Vietnamese flavors and meat inside, and then it has the French baguette. My favorite one is the barbecue pork. If anyone ever goes to get one, it's amazing. But besides the banh mi sandwich specifically, I think it's just really awesome to share cultures. I love that I'm able to share the Vietnamese heritage with a lot of people here who may not know about it. And I think the cool thing about being AAPI is that it's so diverse, and so I'm always still learning about all the different Asian American cultures and then all of the subcultures within them. It's like you'll never be able to stop learning about all of them and sharing what you know about some of it with other people. And that's like my favorite part about being Asian American. So that's it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of May and that you're all staying safe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next month. Bye!
Don't worry, baby, don't worry. Go and get some sleep. Why you always in a hurry? You got bigger things planned for you, don't worry. You ain't gotta come